Okay, guys, good evening. Welcome to Wednesday evening. Welcome to the National Property Network's monthly meeting. Good to see you all. Thank you very much for spending time with us. Fantastic night we've got lined up for you this evening with a fantastic piece of software that has been used by estate agents for some time, the last 2 or 3 years. And it is, I've just come across it. The industry has just come across it from an investment point of view. We believe it's absolutely gold dust. So very shortly, I'm going to hand you over to Simon, who I don't want to steal his thunder with his title and what he actually does and his company. So he'll do all that for you himself. But as always, we've got probably about 45 minutes of presentation from Simon, or 40 minutes of presentation from Simon. See how we go, and then you'll be able to sort of ask him some questions in terms of what the software is going to show you does and doesn't do. And then after that, we will hand over to Wayne as usual to take us through to the property market, what's happening, and what we've got in the world of lending. So if you've got any questions, as always, put them in the question box, and we are looking forward to a good evening. How's the let's have a look at the numbers and see if we can reasonably make a start. Oh yeah, it's coming in thick and fast. So yeah, interesting week. We'll see what happens next week when Rishi does the budget, guys, because that may or may not have an impact. Unemployment figures are up again. It was announced yesterday, which again we think will possibly have some sort of impact. I'm sure Wayne is going to tell us that the market is still extremely strong. He always does that. He wants to be where I am. But yeah, so it's interesting times. Hopefully, in the next several weeks, we will start to see some sort of pattern forming in what's happening with the property market. So what I'm going to do, it is almost 5 past. So I'm going to hand over to Simon Gates from a company called HomeSearch, and he's going to take you through the piece of software that he is a part of, the company is a part of. And after the presentation, there is a method by which you can all get involved and become part of the software, because the National Property Networks have actually done a collaboration with HomeSearch, which will allow you a greatly reduced paid access. But I'll let Simon run through the software first, and we can ask any questions along the way. So Simon, over to you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Barry, and everyone else for having me. I'm delighted to be here this evening. This is my kind of second webinar / digital conference of the day, and it's actually nice to see faces looking back at me, because the webinar I did today with a similar amount of people on it, it really freaked me out because I couldn't see people looking back at me. So I was just talking at a screen, which I found quite bizarre. To give you a very quick background on myself and HomeSearch, and don't worry, I won't take up too much time in going through that, and I'll start sharing my screen and showing you the really cool stuff that we do. But in terms of my background, for my sins, I was an estate agent for a dozen or so years. I started doing some work experience for an independent company around just outside of Milton Keynes. Age of 16, they never got rid of me, basically. I turned up one day for work experience, and I worked my way through the ranks to managing my own branch for half a dozen years. It was a very profitable branch, and in my last full year in a estate agency in 2019, I came across this prop tech platform called HomeSearch through a business mentor of mine, and I was obsessed with it from day one. I had this complex in my head that maybe because I've got a bit of facial hair and not been sleeping very well, perhaps look a bit older than I am, but I am 30 years old, and without this facial hair, I probably look about 12. So when I used to go and appraise people's properties, I used to think, they're thinking, is he old enough? Is he experienced enough to sell my house? So I wanted to back that up with intelligence, enthusiasm, passion. And HomeSearch enabled me to do that with literally absolute gold dust of information at the touch of a button. So started using HomeSearch in 2019. My profit of my office went up by 172%. And 12 months ago, literally 12 months ago, I had a phone call from the co-founders of HomeSearch, and they said, you've been using HomeSearch the most in the country. You've made a crazy amount of profit. We'd love for you to come and work for us and show agents how to get the most out of the system. And I just jumped at the opportunity. So I've spent the last 12 months working from home with lockdown, being on back-to-back Zoom calls with agents, showing them how to get the most out of the system. So in terms of HomeSearch, it's a property data intelligence platform, which basically has just under 29 million property addresses on the system across England and Wales. Doesn't matter if it's on the market, off the market, you can search it on our platform. Now, there's a crazy amount of information. So 29 million properties, we profile 54 million people, and that equates to 24 billion pieces of information. So I'm going to be giving you a tour of the system this evening. I'm going to try and jam pack in as much golden content as I can in the time that's allowed, but also conscious of sort of being information overload. I said to Barry this morning, I'm not the kind of person who does death by PowerPoint. So you're not going to see a slideshow from me or anything. I'm going to get straight into it, share my screen. And by the way, it's going to be interactive. So I'm going to look for people to speak up and get involved, because the more engagement, the better. Some people are now thinking, oh my God, I wanted a quiet Wednesday evening. What have I let myself in for? But let's share the screen and we will show you what we have to offer. At the moment, Barry, I can actually see you on my screen. So can I just get a thumbs up from you that you can see good evening, Simon? Fantastic. Right, okay, this is the home screen. So good evening, Simon, it says. This search bar here, to put it in its just kind of rawness and simplicity, you can search any property in the country via this search bar. And this is a reason I don't do death by PowerPoint. I want this to be as all, you know, as raw and as original as possible. So does anyone want to shout out and give me an address that they want to go have a look at? Do you want to be a nosy neighbour? Do you want to look at your parents' house? Do you want to look at something down the road, a mate's house? If the first person to shout out, we will go look at the address you want us to go look at. Anyone at all? People are on mute, by the way.
They can't unmute themselves. So, so the first one is SN2.
Yeah.
8AY Alpha Yankee.
Is this one from you, Barry, or is this someone else saying this?
No, this is Nyasha.
And what number is it?
Nyasha, what number is it? Can you just pop in the chat box?
244 was that?
244, yeah.
Thank you, Wayne. How impressed. Wayne and I like telepathic. He did the hand signs and I got it. Okay.
Careful.
Right. So, so this is the level of information. It took us more time than you'd actually expect because we were going through that, but go with it. Right. 244 Crickdale Road in Swindon, SN2 8AY. So I can now see at the tap of a button, there is a property on Street View. I can see terraced, freehold, sales history in May 06, April 04. I've got the title number. I've got estimate of bedrooms. I can see the square footage. I've got the plot size, internet and mobile speed. I've got an EPC rating. I've got a council tax band. There's the plot that it sits on. And down here, I have an estimate. Literally at the click of a button, we did all that. Now, Wayne, I'm going to use you as an example. So this estimate tool down here isn't like other estimate tools out there. And what I mean by that is that it's our own secret sauce as to how we've kind of come up with it. There's nothing replicated externally of HomeSearch. There will be similar things, but this is unique to us. It's very much based on RICS guidelines and how a bank would do their desktop valuations. And that's how that price would come about. Now, we're not claiming that that is going to be 100% accurate. Of course not. We do not know cosmetics, bathroom, kitchen, decor, carpets. This is based on all the data that's held in this system. So you can see there's a lot of data that is held there across that. So in terms of comparables, all I have to do now is click that comparable button and it will show you where we've been getting that valuation price from. So now on my screen, if I zoom out ever so slightly, there's the HomeSearch logo where the property in question is. All these black pins are what we're comparing it against. Now I can actually go down here and every single address which we're comparing it against is here. So if I just click on LSP, we are looking at properties from 172 down to 140, hence the estimate of 155. So you can see full addresses, square footages, bedrooms, property type, pounds per square foot when they sold. And if you want to go and look at any single one of these properties, if I was curious to look at the one at 172,000, which was 0.34 miles away, it was number 66 Kitchener Street, I could click full details and I could go look at that at the click of a button. So you literally have the property market at your fingertips or in your pocket. You can use it on a phone as well or a tablet. So that's how quickly that information is available. Now, it's not just the property we hold information on. It's the street, it's the district, it's the demographics as well. It's the makeup of that area. So if I go and click on the street tab now, for example, I've never been to Cricklade Road in Swindon, but I can have a good go at it. So I can see there's 217 properties on that street, average value of 151.5. There's 33 million pounds worth of property on that street, 230 a square foot, 80 houses or bungalows, 137 flats or maisonettes, one sold in the last 12 months and 10 in the last 3 years. So immediately, again, imagine you're searching an address which you're not overly confident with, you don't know it inside out. At a touch of a few buttons, you can know it pretty well. So every single property address on that street is down here. So whether it's 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, 4 bed, flat, bungalow, house. So for example, if I click last sold date, the last one to complete on that street was a 400 square foot, 1 bed converted flat in March 2020 for £91,000. Or the highest price achieved on that street was £260,000. Now you will see some instances where it doesn't have square footage. Now to give you an example on that, we take our square footages from energy performance certificates. Roughly speaking, around 2/3 of properties in the country have EPCs. And as you can imagine, they've been on the sales market, the rental market, they might have had some works done where they have an EPC on it. Now, frustratingly, some energy assessors might put an EPC certificate in a slightly different name to what it actually is on Raw Mail. So if they put it slightly different in EPC, our technology isn't necessarily going to match that up. So sometimes you might say, well, hang on a minute, if that transacted in 2017, surely it had an EPC on it. It might be that EPC assessor has spelt Cricklade Road slightly wrong. Maybe they put an E on the end, for example. And that's what could potentially impact that. But you could, in theory, go and look at the EPC. You can click full details on that. Work out the pounds per square foot for yourself. But as you can see, a lot of them have the square footages on there. Now on this street as well, if I actually click last sold date, for example, it gives me a really good idea as to how popular that street is, because right now there's no sales data on these. They've not transacted since before 1995. So I know that there is 217 properties on that street, for example. I'm going to be a bit of a mad scientist at times on this call, so bear with me whilst I do this. But I'm scrolling through these pages. I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of properties on that street. Perhaps some of these are new builds looking at these flats. There's a lot out of 217 that have not transacted as I keep going through these screens. I've now got past 100 properties and keep going. So what have we got? Got 101. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Probably got 112 properties there. So looking at it, 50% of those properties have not transacted in the last 50 years. In the last 25 years, sorry. Well, over 25 years now, looking before 1995. Now, what I can actually do as well is I can understand who lives in that area, which I think is great from a property sourcing investment point of view. So we've actually profiled 389 individuals living on that street. And interestingly, 23% of them are actually male, 23% more than female. So perhaps if you're a single female, this may be actually a street that you want to go live on. There's a higher male population there. Now, if we look at age groups as well, most common age group on that street is 26 to 35. Now, I have just turned 30 years of age. So perhaps somewhere I want to live, there's social proof that people like me live on that street. Maybe I'm interested that there's actually 23% more females. Now, there's also average household, personal and marital status, if you want to get really stalkerish with it. But it gives you a good understanding as to the makeup of that market as well. Now, what I can also do is look at the tenure and time. So on this street, 34% of properties are rented, 29% are owner occupied, 14% are council. So we've been able to ascertain the information on what 77% of the properties on that street, 23% are not profiled because someone's elected not to share their information, or they're too young or too old, i.e. under 18 or over the age of 80. But hopefully the clogs are turning in your head thinking, wow, it's an amazing amount of data. There's a lot I could do with this. Am I making good investments in buying in that street, for example? Now, what I can also do is click on the district. Now, I do not know anything about SN2, but I can now click on it and I can see how many streets, how many properties are in SN2, average value, net value, pounds per square foot, houses, flats, sales in the last 12, 36 months. So again, how does this property compare to the rest of the district? I can actually go on timeline as well. So maybe you're looking from an investment point of view. Well, just wait for my screen to load. If I just, for example, go back to 2010, just as a arbitrary date, the average price in this postcode district was 132,000. Last year, interestingly, there must be some crazy statistics on average because it actually jumped up to 577. Now, I reckon looking at that, can you see the skew width on that one bed at 544,000? There will be something which was transacted. I imagine it's a ridiculously big site somewhere in the district, which probably sold for an astronomical amount of money, and it's been declared as a one bed. Hence, that would skew with it, and that's something we can go look at. But you can get an understanding of the makeup of the other prices there as well. So you can see what the market's done. It's not just price, number of sales, pounds per square foot, total net sales value. So you can give you a good idea as to how many transaction levels there are as well. Now, I can also look at the breakdown of types of property as well. So I can see there's a lot of 3 beds there, not a great deal of 4 and 5 beds. I can see the house types, terraced, semi, detached, and I can see flats as well, 1 beds, 2 beds, etc. So there's a crazy amount of information that it holds. Now, I showed you the street information earlier on tenure, time and people. I can do it for the district as well. So in the whole of that area, around about 53% are owner occupied. 47% don't have a mortgage. Well, we've got £4 billion worth of property in that area. So what are we talking? Just under £2 billion worth of property in SN2 does not have any mortgage on it whatsoever, which perhaps isn't surprising when you can see a lot of people have lived there for over 6 years, classed as long-term residences, 21,000 of them. A lot of people who perhaps haven't transacted in the last 25 years. Then we've got a fair few people over the age of 66, 56 to 65, and then perhaps over the age of 80. So perhaps they've paid off their mortgage, for example. Before we jump onto the next page, Barry, I'm conscious I'm not looking at the chat because I'm not wanting to get distracted by that. Is there any questions that anyone has posed so far of wanting me to go back over anything before I move on?
No, they're all saying just how good it is. Does it have any environmental data?
In terms of environmental data, as in we have, for example, this is going to answer it slightly, flood risk information. I don't know if you're classing that as environmental data there. So we've got the flood risk, we've got the EPC rating in there. You've got things like if it's conservation, if it's listed. I know that's got nothing to do with environment, but you've got those things there. Other than that, no.
Does it cover the whole of the UK?
At the moment, England and Wales. We're working on Northern Ireland and Scotland. Northern Ireland and Scotland is a bit more tricky than England and Wales, but it will come. I can't give you an ETA on that, but we are in conversations at the moment with the powers that be in Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Okay. Does it show the rents in the area?
So on the rental, for example, on this property here, you've actually got down here an estimate for that property. So we've got a rental estimate as well, which again is our owner algorithm. What we do is we index estate agents' websites every single day. So we're indexing billions of different images and words. So for example, we'd be looking at this and going, okay, so we've deemed it's a 3-bed-ish terrace property, 900 square feet. We then go look at agents' websites in the SN2 area and go, what are they being advertised for on that website? Again, to give you the estimate there. So we're comparing apples with apples, not apples with pears. And what I mean by that is, for example, I know there's other tools out there where you might get a variety of 1-beds, 2-beds, 3-beds on a street. Now, there might be a few 1-bed transactions happen in a street in 1 year, which then can reduce the average price of the 3-beds, or there's lots of 3-bed transactions and the 1-beds go up, vice versa. So it's comparing side by side, like I showed you earlier with the comparables.
Okay. Gina, in terms of how you get to be a member and get access to this site, I will be covering when Simon's finished his presentation. Okay.
Love it. Just an extra addition on in terms of rental estimate and like yield, for example. I'm going to slightly digress, but if I just copy that address now, there's another part to the system, which, Barry, I actually don't know if I showed you this before. But all I'm going to do now is go on to homesearch.co.uk. So this is not pro.homesearch. Now, this is a public site, for example, where you get a little bit of the data that we hold on pro.homesearch, but not all of it. So, for example, I can scroll down here and I've now got sales estimate, rental estimate, and yield estimate. So if you quickly looking at a property in pro home search, go on to homesearch.co.uk, copy and paste the address, bang, there's your sales, rental, and yield estimates to have a look at. Now, in terms of another tool, which we actually hold in HomeSearch itself, up here, you've got so I was just moving my Zoom box out of the way. If you see me moving around the screen with my cursor, it's not because I'm going crazy. I'm just moving the Zoom box so I can see what I'm doing. So on the left-hand side, you've got stamp duty calculator. So that at the moment is taking into account the stamp duty holiday. So if I type in 650,000, it will show you the stamp duty based on not paying any up to 500,000. Area unit converter, live currency converter, rent converter. So at the touch of a button, forget having to have a calculator and loads of tabs open on Google. You got it all here at a second, and weighing for yourself as well. I'm sure you can do this in your head anyway, being a mortgage guy, but quickly working out property price, interest rates, deposit, repayment period. I'm sure you've got a CRM or something for that anyway, but it's really useful to work that out yourself as a potential sort of property investor. So it's a bit of an underutilized tool in our system at the moment, but certainly for me when I was an agent, it was really powerful to have all of that at the click of a button. Now, we have actually just also had a new tool drop into our system, which again, Barry, I've not showed you yet because it literally has just gone live, and it's called Prospector. Now, anything could go wrong here because it's only just gone live in our system. So bear with me whilst this loads. I'm hoping it's going to work as I think it should. Let's just see if that's going to play ball with me. So there we go. Fantastic. Go on, back.
We've got 215 people on, I think, which is the most that we've ever had on, and we all think it's Christmas at the moment, Simon.
Lovely. Awesome. That's good to hear. So as property sources, for example, let's just say for this example, and these are random postcodes which would be in my account from speaking to someone earlier in the day, SG18 and SG19. Let's just pretend for a second someone on this call would be looking to source property in that area. I'm going to deselect all these tabs, and I'm going to look at the full addresses of the ones which have reduced, fallen through, withdrawn, or been on the market for 20 plus weeks. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have seen this, Barry, from the chats you've had before. So now all of a sudden in this area, in the home search system, we've matched 137 full addresses. You actually contact these people. So imagine again being a property sourcer and you've seen this one was on at 205, 500, it's on at 195. Maybe you want to contact that one that just reduced it and say, as you reduced it, do you need a quick sale? Perhaps you're a cash buyer and you can do that. The ones which have fallen through, they were under offer, they've fallen through. Maybe they're a bit eager, motivated to sell. Maybe they're going to want a letter in the post saying, do you need to complete by X? Maybe we can help you there. The same with the withdrawn properties. These people have unfortunately failed to sell. Maybe they'd like a letter in the post saying, I can see you've not sold. However, this is something we might be interested in. So you can go and target that low-hanging fruit, those motivated people. Says, a lot of gold there. 20 plus weeks. Again, they've been on the market for what, half a year at least. In this case, this one's been on 87 weeks, so £1 million. So I think they probably need to drop their price, right? But yeah, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that you could go after there. Now, I haven't even got on to the good part yet. That's the warm-up. So if you like that, hopefully you'll enjoy this even more. So I am going to show you the Explorer tool. The crux of it, simplistically, it does what it says on the tin. You can go exploring anywhere in the country. So, for example, let's say, well, actually, I'll throw it out. Barry, can you give me a random postcode district anywhere in the country?
S5.
S5. Right. Barry, S5. Talk to me. What are you looking to buy on the options here?
I'm looking to buy a 3-bedroom semi.
Perfect. 3-bed semi. Now, what I'm going to do is hit search. And it's going to show me what we've been able to match as 3-bed semis in S5. There's 10,659 of them. Did not expect that number. That is a lot. Wow. So you're looking for a 3-bed semi. There's 10,659 of them. It'd be nice if we could actually identify which ones are owner occupied. It'd be nice if we were able to say what prices you're looking at. It'd also be nice to miss out the ones which have transacted in the last 3 years, because they're probably very less likely to move. So Barry, I'm assuming S5 is an area you know well. What sort of price are we talking 3-bed semis from a low to a high?
70 to 120.
Perfect. So am I okay to put 50 to 125? Is that okay? We're a bit limited on those. So I'm now going to put 50 to 125. And I'm just going to say hasn't sold in the last 3 years. So anything that transacted in theory between the 24th of February 2021 and 3 years prior to that is not going to come up. So 3-bed semi, I'm going to click owner occupier, so you can ignore the privately rented, ignore the council. 50 to 125, 3 beds. I'm going to leave it at that. We started at 10,500. If I now click search, it's now 1758. Narrowed it down massively. We can take that further though. So if you say, well, actually, I want to look at ones which have got square footages of, and Barry, again, so I'm picking on you now, but you're on my screen. So what do we think? 3 beds, typically 750 to 1,000 square feet? Or do you want a bigger one?
Probably 1,000, actually.
So minimum of 1,000, yeah? And what about plot? Would it be nice if it sits on a big plot? Maybe there's a bit of potential to extend on the side or build something in the garden, for example.
No, I don't mind a small plot.
Okay, we'll leave it as that is then. So minimum 1,000 square feet, 197 properties. So clearly a lot of those 3-bed semis, what do we think? Probably 800, 900 square feet, roughly speaking.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we started at 10,500 properties. You've now got Barry White, who wants a 3-bed semi, looking to spend 70 to 120 grand and wants at least 1,000 square feet. He's now got 197 full addresses. And you can send letters to them. Now, up and down the country, it varies from location to location. Anything from 1.5% to 4.5%. But give or take, 3 to 3.5% of properties in this country transact every year. So in theory, of those 197, just on my law of averages, around 7 of those properties will transact in the year 2021. And you could potentially be sending a letter to them saying, I've got someone looking for a 3-bed semi with 1,000 square feet in S5. Yours is one of 197 I've identified that match. Would you like to have a chat? Rather than just sending a letter out saying, I want to buy your house. And they're thinking, yeah, right. You're being so specific with it. Is there any questions coming up on the chat at all, Barry, before I?
Can you do this for rented properties? You're going to tell us not yet, Simon, aren't you?
What you can do, can we ask a question to come in the chat? When you say rented properties, are you wanting to know the actual rental address? I don't know if I'm making sense in saying that, but whilst someone's putting that in the chat, if I just change owner occupier and put privately rented and hit search, out of those 100, out of the properties, 197 were owner occupier, there are 31 which are privately rented. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question. Now, technically at this point, what I suppose you could do is and go to land registry and pay, what is it, £3 a pop, and get who the owner is and potentially write to them directly. I know it's a bit of extra work and a bit of extra money to spend, but you know these ones are rented.
Yep.
So you can do that as well. So yeah, there is a difference between looking at rental or owner occupier.
Angela has just put in a question. Can you put in properties by price, e.e. 100,000 as opposed to area? Angela, I wouldn't want that anyway. If you're investing, you need to be sort of looking at a specific area, not a specific price. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. So you would be better actually looking at an area and then narrowing it down.
To kind of expand on your point there as well, Barry, in answering that, and feedback on what's worked well for agents, for example, is rather than having that kind of mentality of being a mile wide and an inch deep, they're an inch wide and a mile deep. And what I mean by that is they're, just like Barry said, really focusing in on a particular area, like we did, and said, you're one of 197 3-bed semis over 1,000 square feet in S5, which match what Barry White's looking for. Do you want to have a conversation? That is not a BS letter. Like, you can't make that stuff up. Sending out a letter saying, we've got somebody who wants to live in your road. That, for example, could be from anyone. It's so specific. And again, out of those 197 or whatever the number was, around 7 of those will move this year based on law of averages. Not a perfect science, but looking at the numbers we've done, for example, you might know in your particular area, whether it's S5, MK16, NN7, wherever it is, you might go, well, I know on average for 3-bed semis of 1,000 plus square feet in that particular area, they actually seem to sell between, and Wayne probably is a good one to speak to on this, but they sell on average between 3 years and 6 years of owner occupation, because they're kind of selling that 3-bed semi and going to a 4-bed detached, and so on and so on. So if you know what that Goldilocks zone is, go and target those people who are perhaps the very much most likely to be moving, because they're in that Goldilocks zone as well.
A lot of people are asking about the how the letters work. Simon,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've got a button up here that says send letters. So imagine now I was sending letters to these 31 privately rented properties. You click send letters, and just wait for my screen to load. Again, my internet has been a bit hit and miss, so bear with me if it's a bit slow. So you can send out co-branded or solo branded letters. A co-branded letter counts as 1 letter credit, and a solo branded letter counts as 1.5 letter credits. So you can have your logo next to HomeSearch, or you can have your logo on its own. Now, in terms of the partnership we have got with Barry, we actually offer a significant discount on the letters. So, for example, if you wanted to purchase 100 letter credits, it would cost you £25.20 plus VAT. So that's the paper, the envelope, the printing, the ink, the franking, door to door. Don't even have to leave your sofa or your desk to send out some letters. It's a lot less than a second class or a first class stamp.
Can you just confirm that again, Simon?
Absolutely. So basically, a co-branded letter, so 1 letter credit, would be 25.2p plus VAT.
And can you explain to them what you mean by co-branded?
Absolutely. So if I just click on this, which is co-branded, you can create your own letter templates, by the way. So you could put in whatever you want here. If you wanted to say, like I said earlier, dear S5 homeowner, we've got Mr. White looking for a 3-bed semi over 1,000 square feet, you can put that message in there. So for example, in theory, I could delete all of that and put what I want. Now, in terms of co-branded, what I mean is, for example, and I'm just going to use my old company as an example. So I'm hoping this logo is going to be here. There we go. So that is a co-branded letter. So that's 1 letter credit. If you just want it to be front and center, no mention of HomeSearch, your logo, it's 1.5 letter credits.
So if I've got this right, then that a co-branded letter could have the where you've got Michael Graham there, National Property Networks,
yep,
and the logo and the business name of the people that are actually sending the letter out.
Yeah, so they can have their logo there on a co-branded, which is next to the HomeSearch logo.
Yeah.
And then solo branded, if I just go back to select a template, and then I just choose solo branded, it would then just be the logo on its own with no mention of HomeSearch.
Yeah, okay.
So, and if I wanted to then send out that letter, for example, the 1.5 letter credits, that then is what, 37.8p plus VAT. So the 0.5.
Christopher's saying a couple of things. One, can you add in your own custom letter template?
Not at the moment, no.
And the second part of his question is, can you export the list of addresses as well, so you can send, so they can send their own out?
Yeah, great question. So imagine now you didn't want to send letters like this. You wanted to do something very personalized with handwritten notes. All I would have to do at this moment is to just bypass this screen. Just ignore this bit here. All I'll do is click next. There are the addresses. So if you wanted to just highlight those and copy and paste those into an Excel document or a Google Doc, you could do that. That's how to do it. It's like that because nothing against you guys and girls. We're slightly paranoid that other data companies could come in here and scrape all of our data, for example. Now, getting addresses this way can be a little bit more manual than automated, but it's saving us from the years of development and millions of pounds that have gone into it to enable us to keep providing this product and service. So yeah, you can untick these if you wanted to send it through a platform, or you could just put them into a spreadsheet and go do what you want as well. Mm-hmm. So with the prospects tool I showed you earlier of properties on the market for a long time, withdrawn, fallen through, reduced, etc., you can send letters to those as well. Or again, you can copy and paste the address, put it into an Excel sheet, and then go do what you want as well. So you can use as much or as little of the system as what you want, basically.
Okay.
Excellent. Perfect. Now, Wayne, I'm going to slightly pick on you here, if you don't mind.
We always do.
If that's okay, good. So I don't know how beneficial this is going to be to everyone else, but again, I just want to sort of demonstrate some of the power in the system. Wayne, my 2-year fixed rate is coming to an end on my mortgage. I reckon it must be about July. So from a mortgage services point of view, would it be right to say you'd perhaps be contacting me around about now or in the next month or two in readiness for that? So the reason I say that is I live in a postcode district called MK16. So what, in theory, Wayne could do to go and prospect for mortgage business is, well, if people are perhaps coming to the end of 2-year fixed rates, I'm going to go back to 2019. Now, Wayne, what would you say if the people who completed in June 19 who might have 2-year fixed rates, if you were targeting them now, what completed May, June, July, August? Do you want to just thumbs up June? Yeah. So if I just say, let's target the ones who completed between June 19 and end of July, would that be okay? Or August? Yeah. July? Yeah, I'll just do that. Cool. Let me just zoom out so I can get the whole month in. So I'm going to hit search. So essentially what I'm doing here, Wayne, is I'm showing you anyone who completed an MK16 between the start of June and the end of July in 2019. Now, again, I know it will vary, but imagine out of those 55 people, there might be a fair few of them who are on 2-year fixed rates. You could send a letter to them talking about furlough, mortgage holidays, etc., interest rates, everything that you know. Say, if you'd like some advice, get in contact. And yeah, if they haven't got any loyalty to their existing mortgage broker or bank, there's a good chance they might ring you to speak further, because you're targeting that way. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do in the system, from property sourcing, mortgages. For example, as well, if I take MK16 again and just hit Explorer again quickly, you might want to go and target something which has got a low lease on it. Just thinking out loud. So if I go to prices and dates and I go leasehold, well, let's go and look at anything that's got less than 70 years left on the lease. I'm not saying it's something you would do, but there's 117 properties which have less than 70 years left on the lease. Maybe that's something that you could go and target as well.
Yeah, we've got a technical term for that, Simon. It's called boom.
Okay. Can you expand on that technical term of boom?
Yeah. Well, some people will say ka-ching, some people will say boom. Right. That is, that there's an awful lot of people will understand exactly what I mean.
Awesome.
By that. Guys, this is absolutely incredible. Right. So someone's put in here. I feel like GDPR is going to have a field day. Cover that one off, Simon, please.
We're fully GDPR compliant. Now I'm just getting my notepad because I can never remember the exact term, but we are what you call, and I'm sure people will know better than I, ISO 27001 security compliant. We're like the highest of security compliance we can be. Everything is GDPR compliant. So if you want to send out direct mail to people, you can do that. You're not naming anyone's names in any of these letters. When it goes in an A5 window envelope, it just says their address. So imagine I was targeting this one here, which is 28 Ruskin Court. In the window of the envelope, when it goes through a letterbox, it won't say the homeowner, the occupier, the resident. It won't say Wayne Gray, Barry White, Simon Gates. It will just say their address. They open it up and it's whatever you put in it. You're not breaking any GDPR there. Now, if I actually just click on one of these quickly, this is actually, I believe, a retirement complex off the top of my head. But to show you again the level of information we hold on like freehold and leasehold, I can now see here that lease started on January the 1st, 1985, 99-year lease. It's got 63 years left on it. There's the title number of the leasehold, there's the title number of the freehold, and the freehold belongs to Heart of England Housing Association Limited. And there's a site of that retirement complex just there. I'm conscious that we're at 7:43, and I think you said you give me 45 minutes to.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. We're fine time-wise, Simon.
Okay, perfect.
I think you've stunned an awful lot of people, as I knew you would. So that's absolutely fantastic. Now, obviously, from Simon's point of view, the stuff that this does is just absolutely incredible. When I saw this, I thought, wow, we need to have a look at this. And quite frankly, I looked at our business as our own business and thought, right, how can we use this? And then I thought, it's too much, it's too big for us to actually sort of do it ourselves. We've got to put out there. We've got the ideal platform with national property networks. We may as well sort of see what the level of interest is as far as you guys are concerned. Quite interesting. We've had the biggest number that we've ever had on since we started this several months ago. We've had up to 226 on this evening. So that is a fantastic response from our point of view. And as you've seen, it's a cracking bit of kit. It's going to be available to you. And am I right, Simon? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're constantly evolving it, aren't you? So someone's just asked about how often do you update it. I'm guessing
okay, yeah.
Updated, or you've got guys working on this all the time, have you?
So we have a team of 50 strong tech and development guys. I can't even claim to understand half the stuff they do. They're absolute wizards. But we update this data every single month. So at the start of March, in a week's time, we basically, I'm going to use a really like simplistic analogy just because this is like for my brain to comprehend it. Imagine you've got a bathtub full of data, which is all the February data. And on the very last day of the month, we unplug. All the data goes down the plug hole. We fill it back up at the start of March with all this up-to-date data. And we layer the data across a variety of different sources. We have over 200 different data points. So every single month, the data renews. So for example, if I just go to the Explorer tool, and I'm going to use, was it S5 earlier, Barry?
S5, yeah.
Fantastic. If I just use S5 again and hit search, again, just wait for my internet. There's 26,811 properties. If I scroll down here and click last sold date, at the moment, we've got transaction data from LandReg up to the 4th of November. And you can see all these October transactions as well. The moment that gets released by Land Registry, because we partner with them, probably at the start of March, first week of March, when that November data drops, it will be straight in that platform. So immediately when the new data comes through, you'll be able to look at that as it comes through every single month. So in March, you'll have November data. In April, you have December, and so on and so on. So yeah, it's continuously updating.
Yep, excellent.
Was there any other questions at all, Barry?
Yes, they're all asking about the price. I'm keeping them. I'm keeping on tenterhooks. Is there a training page that comes with it? Good question, Philip. What we have agreed with Simon is the fact that because Simon is actually the training director, Simon is going to teach us, yeah, and we are going to be running trainings on it anyway. We've already had that conversation, and it is something that David and I will be sort of digging deep into it, so that we can do it as part of what we do in terms of our training. So yeah, if you have got any questions on it and how it works, just refer them back to us. But you know, I would say once you've got your hands on it, play with it. You can't break it, can they, Simon?
Never say never. But yeah, the best thing you can do is work your way around the system. So for example, I feel like I'm at this point with the system where I've spent literally tens of thousands of hours on it from an agent and also from a training point of view, where I've got to a comfortable position of being unconsciously competent, if you know what I mean, where you drive the car from A to B and you forget that you've been driving for 10 minutes because you've been doing it for so many years. That's what it's like when I navigate my way around HomeSearch. Now, every day, I genuinely learn something new with the system where I'm like, oh my God, I've just seen that. Why haven't I come across that before? That is something that could potentially be absolute gold. So when we learn new things, when we play around with the system, it'll be shared with David and Barry. Barry and David will see things as well, which they'll be able to put their own stamp on as well. So yeah, there's so much stuff you can do with the system, which is probably not even being explored yet. It's powerful. Yeah,
very powerful. Okay, Simon, I'm going to let you off the hook and thank you. Everybody here wants to marry you, even some of the ladies on here as well. Someone just said, does he do magic tricks as well? It's not his software. He only works for.
Yeah, I wish it was my software. If it was, this wouldn't be a virtual office. This would be my actual office. Yeah. And I'd have a lot more money. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Simon, thanks very much for your time. We need to catch up sort of during the course of the next few days and sort of iron out some bits and bobs. You're welcome to stay on if you want, or if you've got other things to do, that's fine.
I've actually got another call to jump on at 8, so yeah. I'm going to jump off that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for everyone's participation, engagement. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, thank you for having me. If I leave, I'm not going to, because I was the host, I'm not like cancelling everything else, am I, Barry?
No, yeah.
Just panicked for a second. Lovely. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. We'll talk shortly.
Thank you, Barry. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, what do we think to that, guys? Was that an interesting bit of software? Yeah. I thought you might think that, Mrs. Pigstock. Right, okay. So here's how it works, guys. The National Property Networks, it will have effectively an overall account. Yeah. So I think off the top of my head, there is a 2-week free trial on it. And after that, it's the price. And don't worry about, yeah, you can write it down, but it's still to be fixed. But I'm very, I think we've sort of fairly convinced we know what we're doing. But we will send you all confirmation of this out anyway, along with access to the recording. Basically, what happens with the recording, to the people that have asked us, we will reconfigure the actual recording itself. I'll send it over to David for David to edit, and he'll take the front and the back end off, where we've been chatting about the complexity just before we let you in. And then he will send it back to us. Jeanette will then put it onto our YouTube channel, because we've got National Property Networks, we've got our own YouTube channel. Yeah? So you'll be able to access it on the YouTube channel. That's how you do it. And all of them, or most of them, I think, are on the YouTube channel anyway. Is that right, Jeanette? Give me a nod. Because Jeanette's in a different room. It's clearly trying to advertise a slimming business by the look of it. So that's what we're going to do. In terms of the price, National Property Networks have agreed a price with HomeSearch. If after the free trial you want to become a member, it is £155 a month. Yeah. From our point of view, the deal that we have done, yeah, is if you go through us, and you would have to contact us. So if you are interested, the way to do it is to send an email to info@barrywhitetraining.com. Yeah, info@barrywhitetraining.com, saying that you're interested. And the prices are as follows, right? It is £300 a year, which equates to £25 a month. So if you buy it in one go, £300 a year, it's £25 a month. If you want it for every quarter, yeah, it is £90 a quarter, which is £30 a month. Yeah. Or if you want to pay ongoing, it is £38 a month. Now that is paid to us, and we deal with all the HomeSearch stuff. We deal with HomeSearch, so that comes through us. Otherwise, you're going to be paying £155 a month each. Okay, that's the deal that David and I have negotiated with HomeSearch for you. Okay, so if you're interested, just drop us an email at info@barrywhitetraining.com. I think. No, Sam, the letter credits are in addition to that. Nice try, type of thing, I would say. Yeah, you'd be very good at negotiating, Sam. Yeah, clearly. But yeah, that's how it works. If you pay the year up front, that's fine. That's not an issue. If you pay £90 for the quarter, then obviously you get 3 months. If you pay it per month, there is no. If you want to pay it every month, there is no contract where you have to pay. If you don't want it anymore, just give us a month's notice, and we'll just stop your subscription. Yeah. So there's no long-term thing. To me, I actually, I would say obviously the most cost-effective thing is to do it for the year, because you for in 2 months you've paid it back. Yeah. So yeah, and it's right. So John says, what's the £150 a month statement that I made? If you go onto HomeSearch and do it yourself as an individual, it is £155 a month. Yeah. You got that? Is the 300 per annum annual rates consistent year on year? Rishmita, the easy answer to that is I don't know. I hope so, because it means that we're going to be paying a lot more. The offer, really, I want to get this up and running. I want to get it off the ground. So we really need to know within the next week or so whether you're interested or not, and then we'll check out all the subscriptions all at once, because there's certain things that we have to do behind the scenes to set everything up. So yeah, sorry, certain things we have to do behind the scenes, certain things that Jeanette has to do behind the scenes to set everything up. So yeah, okay. Yes, the annual rate's got to be paid in one go. Yeah. Is there a package that includes an unlimited amount of credits? Not at the moment, Clive and Camilla. And to be honest, I wouldn't advise that if there was, that you would do that, because I know what will happen. So first time you use it, you'll send hundreds and hundreds and hundreds out, and then something will happen and you've not sent any out, and you're paying for a package that you're not using. It's far better, I think, to do it as you go. Yeah. No, this is the launch event, Greg. Yeah. So it's the launch event for the National Property Networks anyway. Right, Bob, missed the credits. For 100 letter credits, yeah, it is £25.20 for 100 letter credits. Is it just one level of subscription, or some tools come at extra? Some tools come at extra. No, you get the whole lot, access to the whole lot. It's not phased. That's co-branded, yeah. It's not phased or anything like that. You get access to the whole lot for that amount. There is only one level. There's the 2-week trial, free 2-week trial, or there is one level. There's nothing in between them. There's nothing in addition. Okay, right. So as I said, if you're interested, info@barrywhitetraining.com. Give us an email, and we can get you on. Do you have an approximate date on the recording presentation will go on YouTube?
I'll have a recording, Barry, by tomorrow morning, sent to Jeanette.
See, I did that without moving my lips. Yeah, about tomorrow. Yeah. Can you turn your volume down, please, Jeanette? Because I can hear myself. I'm echoing like man. Okay. I don't know why you're in another room. I do actually. Right. Okay. Let's move on. It's 8 o'clock. We flogged that one to death, haven't we? So that's good. You can do the trial first if you want, and then subscribe. We can. Yeah. I think what you've got to bear in mind here, guys, is that to most of you, and I know quite a substantial number of you, to most of you, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it is an absolute no-brainer. Yeah, so it's Rightmove on steroids. That's what it is. And if you've got any estate agents on, you want those tools from Rightmove, right? Anybody know what the cost is a month from Rightmove? it's somewhere in the region of £1,500 a month from Rightmove. That's what an estate agent will pay for an awful lot of that information. So, yeah, it's quite right. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Gray, good evening and welcome.
Need to unmute him, Barry.
Shall we let him in? We need to make him a co-host as well. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Wayne.
Here we go. I've only been doing it 5 months. I've lost all my privileges, look. You can hear me?
Sanjay, sorry, Wayne, Sanjay says there's a discount for multiple users. No, Sanjay, that's it. I think that's a good enough discount. Be interesting to see how hard you negotiate when you're buying properties. Right, sorry, Wayne, off you go, mate.
Hey, Barry. Hey, David. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me as always. I'm Wayne. I'm the MD of DMI Finance. Can you see my screen? You can't, can you?
No.
No.
Share it.
There we go. There we go, thanks. I'll try and make this as brief as possible, and hope that I don't cause death by PowerPoint. I'm from DMI Finance. I'm the managing director. Most of you, I think, know me, but for those that don't, I'll briefly explain who DMI are, and I'll go on. I'll give you a bit of information about. Normally, I'll talk about one specific product in a little bit of detail, and then I'll give you a bit of a rundown on products and a little bit of market update. Nice and brief, especially after what we've had today. So who are DMI? Well, we aren't your regular type mortgage broker. We're a specialist broker focusing on investors, which is why we're here. I would suggest that well over 95% of our clients are investors. We've been trading for 25 years, or 20 years, I'm sorry. And we are a whole of market independent brokerage. So we can arrange finance with every bank, high street, back street, side street, challenger bank throughout the UK. We support property auctions throughout the UK. For those of you buying property at auction, thinking that you can't get a mortgage within an auction timescale, thinking that finance might be more difficult to come by, it's where, as a company, we cut our teeth. It's something that we've done for 20 years. We advertise in a dozen in fact, probably property auctions throughout the UK, and arrange normal mortgages within an auction timescale. We arrange all forms of property finance. So buy-to-let mortgages, commercial mortgages, conversion finance, HMO, and development finance, the whole shebang, essentially. We arrange national or mortgages for clients nationally and internationally. So whether that be a client in the UK that's a foreign national, whether it be a foreign national living abroad, whether it be an expat, if the property's in the UK, irrespective to all intents and purposes of where the individual buying the property or refinancing the property is, we can arrange finance for them. So a bit about the marketplace. Well, the mortgage market, housing market, momentum is continuing. Some stats for you: the number of mortgage options hit their highest level in the last 11 months, last month. And mortgage approvals were at their highest rate since 2007 last month. I guess the key topic, which I think Barry has alluded to earlier, is stamp duty, and it's something that we've all seen today. We'll all hear a lot about it, I'm sure, very soon. But there are just, until the current stamp duty deadline, 25 days or working days left, which I would suggest, regretfully, if it stays, will mean that new cases, new applications submitted for normal mortgages are unlikely to complete if submitted today. We have to be kind of brutal and honest with that point. If we're doing bridging finance, then I'm very confident that then it could be achieved. That said, rumors are abound that there is a possible 3-month extension on the horizon, so bringing it to the 31st of June. And if that's announced next week by the Chancellor, then it will be, welcome news for us all. I think I heard on the radio this morning there are 190,000 transactions which might fall off the cliff edge if this isn't extended. So I think there are a few suggestions being debated. One being whether they taper it, so up until June the 31st. So the stamp duty being charged gradually up until that point in time, or whether they just suggest, okay, if you are up to a certain point in the buying process, then at X point, then it can continue. And it may well be the third option. Well, it just opens and anyone can submit a transaction on the 1st of April and still secure the stamp duty benefits. I guess we'll find out a lot more on the budget in a few days' time. In terms of products, I'm always saying it here, and it's always true. There have been multiple rate drops. More recently, I know last time I was mentioning Shawbrook and Precise, significant rate drops of up to 0.5%. It continues. Zephyr Home Loans have dropped their rates, albeit not by 0.5%, but they've reduced their arrangement fees to 1% across the board. TSB, TBS, my apologies, TSB and Vida Home Loans, they've dropped their rates by up to 0.5%. Accord Mortgages have reduced their interest rates, and they will now allow portfolio landlords with an unlimited portfolio size, which is very welcome. The point that I put at the bottom here is, some of you will remember the last time that we saw such significant changes to stamp duty was in March 2016, where we saw that stamp duty, the surcharge came into effect, that 3% surcharge. A lot of you will have taken out 5-year fixed rate mortgages in March 2016. So what I really would suggest is check your mortgage offers, make sure that you're not coming to the end of your existing product. There will be a lot of you that are, and if you are, get assessing it. There are some fantastic rates out there at the moment, and you need to be on it. Now, you may have already seen it, your brokers may have been in contact, but it's definitely something that a lot of people will be seeing now in the next month, 2, 3. Last month, we had Shawbrook on, and I know Barry and David chose to have Shawbrook on because we thought, or we'd anticipated, that Shawbrook were going to reintroduce a really competitive product that they used to have. And unfortunately, it hadn't been signed off and squared off before Matt presented. However, it now has, so I thought I'd just highlight it. And it's a bridging facility, but it's a bridging facility with a bit of a difference, because rather than lending 75% of the purchase price, which is by and large the norm on a bridging facility, Shawbrook are in a position to lend up to 85% of the purchase price of the property. So it's for those properties that need light refurbishment. When I say light refurbishment, I'm not really talking structural. I've put down here basic refurbs, new kitchens, bathrooms, windows and doors, minor remedial works, damp, timber, plastering, and HMO conversions that don't require anything particularly excessive. So no building regs, no moving of bathrooms, perhaps, no installation of en suites. But for this particular product, they'll lend 75% of the afterworks value up to 85% of the purchase price. It's really, really unique. I was just saying, Barry, whilst you're away, this is the product that we were hoping Matt was going to introduce to us all last week. Unfortunately, last month rather. Unfortunately, it hadn't gone through the through the system and the chain of command in time. But it's really, really strong. It's useful to mention. Their interest rates slightly higher. I mean, normally you'd see a bridge a little bit less than 0.85 for sure, perhaps 0.65 to 0.75 at the 75% range. It's a little bit higher, but it's not 75%. You're getting that bit extra day one. Arrangement fees are pretty standard there, no exit fee, and up to 12 months facility. So it's a really, really attractive product. I always say it, look, a lot of people shun bridging. A lot of people don't know necessarily what it is, what the benefit of it is, how it works. You know, ultimately with bridging, with a mortgage, with anything, it is not solely what it costs you, it's what it makes you. So, you know, don't disregard it. It's a really useful tool, and have a chat with us if you think it can serve you a good purpose. Moves me on to rates. And look, a lot of these rates probably don't change that significantly, or the headline rates don't change that significantly month on month. You'll see here, I've given a selection for today's date. Headline 2-year fixed for a buy-to-let in your personal name at 75%. We're talking 1.59%. It's the same rate that I think I've been harping on about for the last 4 months. It hasn't changed, it hasn't dropped, but more importantly, hasn't increased. 2-year fixed rates in limited companies, however, came down pretty sharply last month, and it still remains the most competitive product at 2.79%. That was a precise product that dropped by something like 0.3% last month. Fantastic product. 2-year fixed for HMOs or multi-unit freehold blocks, so multi-unit properties, 2.89 at 75%. And then the 5-year quick roundup, 2.05 for a personal name buy-to-let at 75%. Very, very competitive. I think it's slightly increased from around about 2% that we were talking about last month. 5-year fixed for limited company or SPV name, 3.39%. And then for an HMO, whether it be in your personal name or a company, we're talking 3.59%. So really some really attractive products. I mean, they are incredibly competitive. Certainly the limited company products there is very, very rare that you see a 2-year product beneath 3%. I don't think we've seen that, certainly for not at 75% for a good year or more. And to see these guys drop it now to 2.79%, I mean, it's not 2.99. They've not come in fractionally and just to win it based on being beneath 3. It's by some way. So hopefully other lenders will follow suit. That, guys, is pretty much it from me. It was short and sweet.
Wayne, can you just go back a slide, please?
Sure, Brooke.
No, next one. That one. We're assuming that means 2021.
It means 2021. Good eyes. Good spot. Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
I've not noticed it. Someone had.
2021. Yep. But you know what? They probably weren't that dissimilar in 2020.
I don't think they're as good, were they?
You know, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think they're as good. So, yeah, sorry, Wayne.
No, that's fine. So, yeah, short and sweet from me today, guys. But I would welcome any questions if anybody has any.
Love them new products. Yeah. Anybody got any questions for Wayne, guys?
Is there anything on the market for properties with a value of less? No, not really, Claire. I mean, look, you can get finance on anything for anyone. You know, you're not going to be precluded from securing finance on a property purchase of less than 50K. Not at all. It's at what cost you want to pay. Long-term finance on properties valued at less than 50K is not particularly competitive. You'll be looking at very secondary, tertiary lenders, perhaps, such as Together, who are primarily a bridging lender, probably looking to charge nearer 6% per annum if you took a long-term facility with them. But I would say that it's all about strategy. You don't need to take, if you're buying a property for less than 50K, well, ultimately, you're likely to be making your money in multiple ways. You're likely to hope to see some capital appreciation. You're likely to be buying it for less than it's worth. You're likely to be enhancing the value anyway. So if you are, then perhaps we'd be better off looking at a bridging facility for the acquisition. Then when it's worth more than 50K, we look to refinance it. So I guess the short answer is no, not normal mortgage products less than 50K at standard rates. Bridging most certainly, but if it's going to be worth 50K after you've done the refurb, then it is definitely viable. Above 50K, you have 9-10 lenders that will lend quite comfortably at £50,000 and a pound.
Wayne, can we do, we've never done this before, can we do a quick fire question and answer? I'll read the questions out and do a quick fire sort of answer to the
Sure.
and if we need to elaborate and it is something that you can help someone with, then they can contact you anyway, yeah, through DMI. So first one is, Wayne, do you have a no proof of income or self-employed product? I think that's what.
Is this for buy to let? I can see that here, John. Presumably it's buy to let, is it? I mean, look, let me answer the question. No, absolutely not for a residential mortgage. Yes, absolutely for a buy to let.
Okay, next one is Joseph. Headline products, are they open to most properties and most people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the products there, if you look at Precise, they have no portfolio limitations. You could have 400 properties. You could have one property. They'd be happy. There's no minimum income requirements. I mean, by and large, those products, look, yes, they're headline. And there's this general, as a consumer, this belief that the more stringent the lender's criteria, the more competitive the rate, the more stringent the criteria is behind it. It's simply not the case. You know, often the most attractive rates are widely available. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody wants to know if you can provide finance for their 22-year-old son who earns 18K per annum. He has a large deposit.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. For a buy-to-let or for a resi?
Buy-to-let.
Yes, yeah, we could. I think presumably he's a first-time buyer, first-time landlord. Options will be restricted, but as I say, it's, you know, there are options out there for anybody on anything. Rest assured.
Yeah. How much arrangement fees are for those products? I'm guessing that varies, does it?
It varies. I mean, look, you know, ultimately, it's always a bit of a catch-22, highlighting the most competitive rate. Because, look, you have to be aware that there's no such thing as a free lunch with a lender. And if they're not charging you somewhere, they're charging you somewhere else. Ultimately, the job of a broker is a matchmaking job. It's matchmaking you with the most competitive product. And that is unlikely to be necessarily focused on the cheapest rate. It's going to be focused on the cheapest product overall. You want a nice 2-year fixed, and therefore we're going to be looking at the cheapest 2-year fixed for you, taking into consideration the lender's arrangement fee, the valuation fee, the interest rate, and all ancillary costs. There's no point just exclusively looking at the interest rate, but as a rough guide, I think that 2.79 and the 2.89 that I mentioned there, they were offered by Precise. As I say, they were introduced just before last month's session, Barry. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they reduced their arrangement fees on their limited company range and HMO to 1.5% rather than what it previously was at 2%.
Okay. What about heavy refurb to convert to HMO? Are there any good offers out there at the moment?
Oh, what? Sorry.
Heavy refurb to convert a property to an HMO.
Yeah, there are. I mean, look, there are a number of lenders that will do a heavy refurb to convert to an HMO. Probably not dissimilar in terms of rate to what we've got there. They wouldn't lend the 85%, but certainly 0.8% at 75% loan to value would most certainly be achievable on that.
Deepak says, are they, I'm assuming most lenders, or maybe Shawbrook in terms of what you've just been saying, are they not using rental income as the main criteria rather than 75% loan to value?
He's probably talking about buy-to-let. Look, you have two things. So, Deepak, when you buy a buy-to-let, a lender will lend up to perhaps, and some lenders will lend more than 75%, but they'll lend up to 75%, and they will lend based on the rent. So depending on your tax position, depending on the rate that you're getting, depending on whether it's a shorter term fixed rate or a longer term fixed rate, it will be the rent that defines how much you can go up to, but that will always be capped at, say, 75% loan to value. So for example, £500 rent on a property for a basic rate taxpayer would need to cover perhaps, and it's technical, but 125% cover on a notional interest rate, not what you pay, but at 5.5%, which off the top of my head probably works out to be a maximum loan of about £87,000. But of course, that's taking you up to there, Deepak, which is the most important thing, the rent. Does it cover the lender's rental cover requirement? But if you're only buying a property for 100, well, of course, they're not going to lend you the £87,000. It's going to be capped at the 75. So both are equally important. The maximum loan to value of the product plus the rent.
Yeah, I mean that the rental cover calculation change whether depending on what you're doing in the
tax position. I thought it might be useful next time. I'll perhaps explain how the rental cover works on the board here.
Yeah. Wayne, how is the SA lending going? Is there still products out there for serviced accommodation properties?
There are, and I can only imagine it's going to go one way with the amount of staycations that are about to take place. Yeah, serviced accommodation is definitely something that is palatable to many lenders. I think a lot of lenders, if you haven't got the experience, then and there's not the track record, then they'll probably work off basic AST rental income. They're happy for you to let it as serviced accommodation, but they might well work their calculations at 125 or whatever it might well be cover based on the market rent on a standard AST. But absolutely, no, there's a number of lenders.
Okay, you spoke about a lender that had got a 2.79 buy-to-let and a 2.89 HMO. Who was that with, Wayne?
They were the ones that I introduced last week. Precise.
Whilst I'm finding the next question,
I see one here. Any problems with getting finance on HMOs with a limited company formed with my young son, and he's disappeared now, and daughter, both in their early 20s. Look, I would say, Simon, it's all about strategy. I don't know. Look, ultimately, when you get a mortgage, typically the secondary applicants piggyback in on the experience of the primary applicant. So the primary applicant has an income. So by default, the assumption is that there's an income there on the application. So the lack of income for the second and third applicant, it disappears. You might say, well, actually, the primary applicant owns property, but the other two don't. They will piggyback in with a number of lenders on your experience. Their age might be a factor to consider with some lenders. One thing I would say, though, is it's about strategy, because some lenders, if they are shareholders but not directors, a number of lenders may disregard them and they not need to provide personal guarantees for the mortgage. They not be considered as party to the application if their shareholding is beneath a certain amount. And generally, that's 25%. Precise mortgages, and they seem to be flavor of the month. I can assure you that we do a lot more with a lot of lenders rather than precise. But you asked the question. They, I think, will be very happy if they are financially dependent on you at the point of application. There is no limitation, I think, with precise on the percentage of shareholding that they have, or indeed their ages. But that's unique to them. But look, speak with us. We're a broker. There's no one size fits all. Every lender has slightly different criteria.
Somebody's challenging you here, Wayne. Sorry, excuse me. One personal message to Wayne Holmes. I've got your message, Wayne. I'll contact you tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. I just saw your picture flash up. What makes you faster at releasing funding for auctions than other brokers on the market?
Experience. I mean, other brokers on the market do not and have not advertised at auctions. So when my business partner Jeff set the company up, founded the company 20 years, he saw a niche, he saw a sweet spot, if you will, in the market. Nobody else was advertising at auctions. And look, it's all about, it's like people say, well, why would I come to you rather than another broker? I'll never disguise it. By and large, we're all fishing in the same pond. I can't go and say to you, and if the broker tells you can get a much better rate than I can, then he's wrong, because that's not how it really works. What you get in a broker is experience. What you get in us is experience, proactivity, efficiency, skill, and we don't rely on volume business. We ultimately, it's all about being proactive. A lot of brokers won't chase for valuations, won't chase for updates, won't push things through, won't place it with the right lender first time. We, through experience, can say that we do this. We've done it for 20 years. We do it on a daily basis. That's what tells me that we can do it. And if you speak to another broker, they'll no doubt say, oof, auction timescale. No, I'm not comfortable with that. Well, I mean, we've been advertising in one auction house in Kent, Clive Empson, since 2001, and we have done religiously each and every month since 2001. So that's what gives me the confidence.
Do you mind if I give them an answer to that as well, Wayne?
Yeah, of course.
Right. The thing with DMI is the fact that if you go to any of the major auctions, right, that DMI are in there. They're in the Barnard Marcus catalogue. All the main auction houses, the big auctions, they're in there. It's all about the relationship, guys, and this goes for everybody. It's all about the relationship the broker has got with the lenders. And I know from experience that Wayne has got a very, very good relationship with the lenders, and the lenders know exactly what sort of properties that he is arranging finance on, right? They're experts at it. As Wayne said, that they've been doing it an awful lot of years. And I might sound very cynical, and I don't want to point the finger at anyone in particular, but you also have to bear in mind that the alternative to putting a mortgage, or the main alternative to putting a mortgage on a property when you're buying at auction, is to put a bridge on it, right? So bridging finance, auction finance, bridging finance. Yeah, that is what most brokers would want to do. Why? Because the fees on a bridge are much higher, and I'm going to say the words kickback. I don't mean the commission fees from the broker's point of view, right, are going to be higher if they put one of their clients on a bridge as opposed to a mortgage. Yeah, and if you think about it, that is purely logical. It makes total sense. So an awful lot of brokers actually don't want to put you on a mortgage at auction. Why? Because a brokerage that is going to try and get your mortgage on an auction property, right, has to work much quicker and much harder in the auction under auction conditions than they do under normal conditions, and that's why an awful lot of the brokers don't want to do it. Every broker could do it if they wanted, but not every broker has set themselves up and even wants to do it. Is that a fair comment, that, Wayne?
It absolutely is. I mean, look, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you never speak to us, and if you've never dealt with another broker, I mean, look, we have clients who have never dealt with another broker. We could be brilliant, we could be rubbish because they've never tried another broker. But I think most people have. I mean, our largest client, and we're all about relationships. We don't want single-serving friends, as it were. We don't want somebody to come to us and never speak to us again or never work with us again. That's not how we work. We want repeat business. We want to develop a relationship with our clients. We want you to introduce your friends, your family. That's how our business evolves, and that's how we stay in business, because we have survived tough times. We were here in the recession, and only through those relationships that we have with our clients did we survive, frankly. But yeah, we'll always do the very, very best by our clients. There's no point looking for a quick win and selling a bridge unnecessarily entirely.
I've got a really, really interesting question from Steve here. This is really interesting from my point of view as well. Yeah, and probably David's. Currently having issues with lender not liking HMO tenant licenses as they do not give exclusive use of the room. Is this a serious problem or likely to be resolvable?
It's a difficult one because, look, as a broker, there are certain things that I can't imagine, Steve, that's come up at the point of application. Presumably that's come up post-offer. And I always say to clients, it's like when we do, I don't know, critical things like title splits and things. If we think there's going to be an issue, we really scrutinize it at the outset. There's no point trying to hide the elephant in the room. Or, of course, ultimately, a broker's role is to paint a picture of the applicant, a picture of the case in the most favorable light. But if we think there's an issue, then we'd really hone in on it and liaise with our contacts. I've not come across this particular issue. And as I say, I think it's probably because most of the time, the lender don't require the ASTs. They don't require copies of the tenancies. All of that will be seen post-offer. But look, I'm more than happy, Steve. Give me a call tomorrow. You've got my contact details there. I'll thrash it out, and I'm absolutely damn sure we'll have solutions for you.
Yeah. Terry's just asked if you've got lenders that lend with social housing leases in place. I'll answer that as well, Terry. Yes, he does. Not a problem at all. In fact, Wayne also speaks on the, I think you do still speak on the social housing course, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
On the social housing course, so that's fine.
So tenant type's not an issue, Terry. Asylum seekers, rehabilitated offenders or rehabilitating offenders, young adults, no issue whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a Dr. David Harwood on here that wants to know, are there any bridge to let products out there?
There are, David, there are, but I don't, I think I've mentioned it on here before, and I don't think bridge to let is a fantastic tool in truth, because the let element that you get, so a bridge to let by definition, it's a product offered by a bridging lender primarily, not a buy to let lender. There aren't any true buy to let lenders in the bridge to let space. There are bridging lenders that want a buy to let takeout. And by virtue of that, the rates that they'll offer are never quite as competitive as a buy to let. Now, the reason people would go for that is because of the 6-month rule. You know, the inability in a client's eyes not to be or to not be able to refinance a property within the first 6 months. However, that is a misnomer. That's not a truth. You can absolutely refinance a property within the first 6 months of ownership. We do it on a daily basis. It's understanding why it's come in, and the reality is, if you're enhancing the value of the property, you can absolutely refinance the property within the first 6 months. So I would always encourage someone to get a standalone buy-to-let, a standalone bridging facility rather, at the most competitive terms, and then refinance it onto a standalone buy-to-let. That way you're not getting an inferior buy-to-let for the exit. The only other point is that when you do the valuation for a bridge to let facility, they're valuing the property on day one, and therefore they're looking at your schedule of works and costings and saying, okay, you're buying it for 75 grand, you're spending 20 grand on it, therefore by my estimation it's worth 95 grand once you've done the works. And not that valuers are lazy, but they're conservative. They don't know the extent of the work that you're doing to the property. They don't know the sophistication. They don't know that you're best mate's a plumber, and you've got the kitchen in your garage stored from a property that you used to own. So, they don't, by default, their valuations are lower, in my view, than they would be if you refinance the property with a visual of a fully complete property. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I think what we're going to do, I think we'll sort of wrap it up there for this evening. So thanks very much, Wayne. We have got some sort of fairly personal questions coming in that I purposely not asked, guys, because they are pertaining to you personally. The best thing I can say is give Wayne a ring. You've got the contact details, right? Give Wayne a ring. The guys at in Wayne's office. How many you've got in there now? You've got like 15, 16, 18?
14, I think. 14. Yeah. We've got another guy starting on Monday, in fact. Yeah. Lewis.
So, and the important thing about DMI, and I've said this before, guys, is the fact that Wayne knows where most of you have come from in terms of in terms of your level of experience. He appreciates and he knows that some of you are very experienced property investors. Equally, he knows that some of you have not even got properties yet. When you ring him, just to remind him, if you said talk about the National Property Networks or mention myself or David, then they will know where the route that you've come from, and they will look after you accordingly. They're used to doing that, and that is one of the reasons that we have Wayne on every month, so that you've got someone that you can speak to. If you have got any issues, whether you've got a broker that you're dissatisfied with, whether you're satisfied with your broker and you want something else. Someone just spoke about fees, right? That is something that Wayne will go through with you, and I'm not going to say what the fees are, but I will say that they are very, very, very competitive, and as far as the other brokers are concerned, that's not a sales thing. That's a matter of fact. So thanks very much, Wayne. As always, Wayne's almost finished getting one of our difficult deals through, so he should be free to be able to speak to me. All our deals are difficult. So thanks, mate, for that. Really.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you. No problem.
Guys, just before you go, I know a number of people have said they've had problem trying to get the email through to the info Barry White training for the HomeSearch. Don't worry, it's working now. It's probably just the volume of emails that were going in. Uplift property on a lease option, then mortgage. Brian, nothing wrong with a lease option. So guys, we'll leave it at that. Say goodbye, David.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Anurag. Yeah, you can unmute yourself now if you want to speak.
Thanks, thanks, Wayne, and I wanted to thank Simon. He's gone. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Okay. The next one, by the way, sorry, before you all go, the next one is on the 31st of March, and we will have a specialist property lawyer who deals with things like tenant disputes and evictions. That is going to be really fun. So that is on the 31st of March. Okay, so until then, hopefully at least the kids have gone back to school for most of you, but by the time we next speak, if you've got any questions, by the way, please feel free to sort of put them onto the we don't get much interaction on the Facebook group or the Facebook page, whichever it is. Jeanette will tell you, group or page, I can't remember. Both. If you have got any questions, right, we have a look at it sort of most days, every day. If you have got any questions that we can help you with along the way, just put a question in. if we can direct you or help you or whatever, that's what that's what it's for. Please start using it, because we feel very unloved on that Facebook group. Yeah. So until then, until the 31st of March, guys, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for being on. I really, really appreciate it. And a massive turnout tonight. It was great. I think we had 226 on it.
226, yeah.
Yeah.
At the big level. So get your information in, get your details in for the home search, and we'll get the information out to you in the next sort of 24, 48 hours. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Good night.